Ready to go? Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Is Steve on the Zoom with us or no?
No.
Okay, he said he was gonna be. So everyone had a chance to read the minutes from the last meeting?
I don't vote.
For a motion to accept the minutes?
And then unless we accept the minutes from last month.
Second?
Okay, Steve just got here.
A second. Any correspondence, Jay?
I did email you 3 items, 2 items from the Columbia County Planning Board and, a letter from the town bankrupt plan.
Do we have that in front of us, Jay? Do we have any of that, what came to them, because that came in at 5:15. I didn't even see any of that,
I
so
didn't
do
see anything.
we have any of that in front of us? Or it came in on my phone at 5:15.
Yeah, I think I'm sorry. I don't even look at that time. I'm getting ready. If dinner and come
I
here.
don't have any of that, so if you want to read that to us?
Or just tell us what it's,
Okay, so the letter from the planning board is on the Ingram Opera House Annex. And it said that they did the environmental review. The 2 letters from the Columbia County Planning Board are on the Ingram Opera House Annex and the Ingram Opera House Theater itself. And they note that the ZBA may wish to see certain additional features on the site plans, such as parking, the wastewater, the septic, and asking the applicant about the possibility of signing.
So they just wrote us a letter saying that they recognize we've asked for this.
They wrote a letter, pursuant to the referral under the 239. And, their finding was no significant impact beyond the community. So it's a matter of local interest. And then they issued the recommendation.
Are there any conflicts of interest on the board? Okay, old business. Can I have a motion to open the public hearing for the oil and public hearing? How can we open? Oil and properties. Any public comment? Who wants to say anything?
I make the motion, we close the public hearing.
Second? All in favor? Okay, so we'll move on.
Well, before we close that, was there any questions from Zoom? Did you have any questions or?
I'm having real difficulty with with hearing you guys. The mic is not doing a good job of picking things up. Any questions on?
The Hoolan property. On that was the Cottonville Road.
Yeah, I didn't see on, so The summary there is if I've got this right, is they're looking for an area variance. It's the front setback. In the ag district, the front setback is 50 feet. And I guess they've encroached within 4 feet of that. But I couldn't see that on the map itself. But is that the correct summary from what you guys have got there?
It's a little like corner that goes over the setback, the street setback, a little corner.
It's like 4 feet or something, right?
Yes.
You know, the distance, but on the map it wasn't.
Were any, so it's more than a 4-foot setback that he's asked for? Variance?
Into the setback. If the setback is, I don't know what it is, 10 feet, what is it?
We're already, they're already 4 foot into it.
He's 4 feet into it, he should be back 4 feet, back away from the road. He's 4 feet into it. And the house is there, the house was built, there's no new construction. Was there.
Yeah, the setback is 50 feet in the ag district, Carol.
The road setback in the ag district is 50 feet.
In the front, yes. Yeah, it's a big setback. The net of it is, Fred, I don't have any questions. It seems fairly simple and straightforward to me.
Okay, so we can move on to the environmental assessment form. Did you hear that, Steve?
Yes. You're gonna move on to the environment.
Short form environmental assessment.
Yes, so you've already opened and closed the public meeting?
No comments.
Okay.
Are you good with that?
Sorry, Fred, I can't hear you.
All right, we're gonna go ahead with the short form environmental.
Okay, great.
So this proposed action only involve the legislative adoption of a plan, local law, ordinance, administration, rule, or regulation. Yes or no? No, I would say no. Does the proposed action require permit, approval, or funding from any other government agency?
No.
No.
Total acres of the site of the proposed action?
I think it was 10.
So is it the total or is it only the site that we're asking for?
Total acreage of the site.
Can you
No, I think
clarify your reading part 1?
What's that? Yeah, we're reading.
Appendix B, he's reading Appendix B, short environmental assessment form.
Okay.
There's 3 questions for that section. So I was.
That's the part that the applicant filled out.
Yes. That we just this afternoon.
Yeah,
Number
we
4,
we should be working off part 2, and I think there are 10 questions there. Jay, did you give copies to everybody?
could I suggest a correction on part 1? Number 4, from reading the whole application, the applicant just checked off rural, but from reading the application, it's surrounded by 2 farms, so that agricultural should have also been checked off. And also, he mentioned at some place that there was woodland, so forest should have been checked off on number 4. I don't know if we can correct it, but, or add to it, but that's what I found from reading this.
Okay, so we'll go to part 2. Will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use plan or zoning regulations?
No,
Will the proposed action result in a change in use or intensity of use of land?
No.
No.
Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community?
No.
No.
Will the proposed action have an impact on environmental characteristics that cause establishment of critical environmental areas?
No.
Will the proposed action result in an adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect existing infrastructure or mass transit, biking, or walkway?
No.
No.
Will the proposed action cause an increase in use of energy and it fails to incorporate reasonable availability or available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities? Will the proposed action impact existing A, public water private supplies,
No.
public private wastewater treatment utilities?
No.
Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historic, archaeological, architectural, or aesthetic resources?
no,
No.
Proposed action will result in an adverse change to natural resources, wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, and fauna.
No.
Will the proposed action result in an increase in potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? Will the
No.
proposed be a hazard to environmental resources or human health?
No. So, we checked the second one, it's like.
yes.
Yeah.
And
Okay, I guess we'll move on to our 5 questions, Steve.
Yep.
Whether undesirable change would be produced in character of neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties.
no,
Whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by a feasible alternative to the variance.
No.
Whether the requested variance is substantial.
No,
No.
Whether the variance has an adverse impact on physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood.
No.
Whether difficulty was self-created.
yes,
I love that one.
And sometimes I wonder why we have that on the form. So Fred, if there's no other objections or comments from the board, then you can go right on to the vote on it.
Okay. Make a motion, we accept. Call for a vote.
I'll make a motion to accept.
Second,
I'll second it.
the
Then Fred, just ask us one by one what our vote is.
work cheaper if you don't rush me. Will Lutz. Aye. Sharon. Ron.
Aye.
Carol.
I don't know. You want to respond? Get a chance to say. To be fine. Steve has to vote.
Aye.
Jay, is Steve allowed to vote?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor? Okay. Variance approved. Any other comments, Steve?
Nope, none from me. Thank you. I don't have the paperwork for the next one.
I didn't know we were going to. It's a pretty.
Now, the Ankrum Opera House, we've already done the assessment last month on that,
The planning board.
planning board did it. We had a public hearing last month on that. Yeah.
And it's going back to the planning board for the facilities permit.
So then we'll work on the 5 questions for the Ankrum Opera House Theater.
Hey, just one comment from me on this. And I know most of you have probably not had a chance to read the documentation that got sent out, because it didn't really come in time for us to look at it, but it included in in the information we got was a letter back from the Columbia County Planning Commission, I think it was, because the planning board referred this to the Columbia County Planning Board, and the Columbia County Board came back and said, basically they didn't see that this was that big a deal, and indicated that it's probably okay to go forward, but they made 3 recommendations for us to follow. I don't have it open in front of me, and I don't remember what they were off the top of my head. Jay, I don't know if you've got copies there for people, but one of them was to have the plans, the drawings delineate a couple of things, including parking. So that before what they were suggesting was that, well, it's not binding, but it was a suggestion, the way I read it, is that we have the plans updated to reflect parking, septic, and I forget what the third one was. So I'm not quite sure if we should vote on this tonight or if it's in the best interest of Ankrum, both the zoning board and the planning board, to respond respectfully to the recommendations that we made, that they made before we vote on it. I don't believe that's binding, so I'm just raising this for the board to discuss. Once we do vote on it, we've got 30 days to send to the county planning board the results of the vote. So, Jay, do you know if we waited 30 days, whether or to the next month's meeting, if this would hold up anything that the ACA is doing or that the planning board is doing?
This is news to me. So I think that the planning board needs the area variance granted prior to the approval of the special use permit.
Okay.
Could you repeat that, please? The planning board needs the ZBA.
The area variance granted prior to the final approval by the planning board of the special use permit. And I would also further clarify that the ZBA was the referring body to the county planning board for both those letters, and they were received on March 27th.
I'm sorry, what date?
March 27th.
So what do we think about Steve's suggestion that we respond to the county on those 3 recommendations?
Well, we don't have to respond to the county, do we? I mean,
No, he didn't say we have to.
right, we just have to discuss those 3 topics, and so it's going back to the planning board. So to me, in our area variance, I understand those 3 questions, but it's going back to the planning board. I think we should make sure that we pass along those recommendations. You know, do you think, are you suggesting, Steve, that we may have to reopen the public hearing with the new, with these new documents that we received?
No, I think that would be onerous. I just wanted to make sure that, knowing that you all probably hadn't had a chance to read all of those documents in detail, and I did, that we did get that letter and those suggestions. And I wanted to just be considerate of the county planning board's recommendations. Now, that said, we're a body that grants the variance, and even if we did see those things on an updated map, I doubt there is anything that we would do about it, because that's more of a planning board issue to deal with, I think, than ours. So I'm not uncomfortable with moving forward and voting on it tonight. But again, I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew that that had been received and had a chance to comment on it.
And I also don't think that the part of the area variance that we're considering doesn't affect the parking, doesn't affect the septic, and I think that's what the third was. I mean,
It is completely separate. The
Yeah.
variances are completely apart from the.
Yeah.
Things that have been raised. The other piece I wanted to mention is all three of these items have been discussed at length with the planning.
Right, and we had a suggestion from them, I think, the last time about the parking. If I'm not mistaken, right? So
not
that,
parking.
yeah, so I mean, there was one thing that we discussed. So yes, and I think the septic was brought up by somebody in the public.
Yeah, there was a problem about that. Yeah.
There's really nothing you're gonna do with the parking is the same as it's been since the building's been there.
Essentially, there's a spot.
It's not like we're gonna build a 30-car parking lot somewhere.
No, and there was questions of like, if there was a need for overflow parking, which we, as I mentioned, we did talk to the planning board about it, and just with the rest of Akron Center's programming, we have the lot that's sort of south of us, or to the north of us, that we use for parking, and that's where anything that might be sort of related to the annex if needed. Yes.
And your handicap is, you have areas for handicap up by the annex?
The one spot we are gonna reserve for handicap. And we're carving out a spot along the road for the off-ramps as well.
And the front of that's gonna be blocked off, correct?
On the upper house,
Front
yes,
porch.
yeah. That was a whole separate application.
Yeah, no, I just.
Yeah.
Curious.
Yeah, listen, guys, I think, based upon what we just heard, the fact that it is being discussed at the planning board. I don't think we need to make this more difficult for the applicant by waiting a month just to get some maps updated that are, maybe nice to have, but in terms of our decision on the variance, probably have very little bearing.
And I will just add, the planning board saw the septic, they saw the drawings of the septic recommendation and prepare. Signage, we actually don't have a plan yet for signage, but that would just, once we do, we would have to come back. Because this would be the procedure for that. And parking was discussed as I mentioned. And they looked at the overall site.
I think we should move forward, Steve.
I, as a member of the board, yeah, not the chair, I think that's the right decision. And, that at least we brought it up and discussed it respectfully because it was a recommendation from the county. And I think that's good enough.
So we'll move forward with the factors to consider. Whether undesirable change would be produced in character of neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties.
No.
Whether benefit is sought by applicant can be achieved by a feasible alternative to the variance. Whether the requested variance is substantial.
No,
Would the variance have an adverse impact on the physical or environmental conditions of the neighborhood? Whether the alleged difficulty was self-created? We'll have the answer to that one. Checking box number 2 on this one. So we're gonna put conditions on this, Steve?
I don't, my recommendation would be no, Mr. Chairman. But what does the rest of the board think?
Rest of the board thinks I would say no.
Well, I think that, we should. I make the motion that we accept the variance. And that we carry we send along with it the suggestions from the county planning board. And saying we discussed them, but we didn't see a problem for our area variance.
Okay, second,
Oh, I don't think we need a motion for that, guys, because, sorry, team. Because there is a comment section that's available at the end of the part 2 of the environmental assessment form. That as we go through those questions, we can put the comment that Will just made in that section when we once we vote on it, and we can just send it over to the planning board.
call for the vote.
That's good. I think it hasn't been seconded.
I'll make the motion that we accept the variance.
Okay, second. All in favor? So moved. Okay, so,
Well, from a process perspective, we need to do what we just did with the previous variance, and that is just go through those questions, answer them, and then have the chair ask each one of you for an aye or nay vote.
we're almost to that. Well,
Fine. But you want to go through these questions?
Can we already go through
It's fine. Those sevens. We're going through this. We're not going through the short area, we're going through the area variance.
Right, which we just did, so we have to answer that.
That's what you have to do.
yeah, I don't have any more paperwork on that.
Aye.
No, we have that. We already went through the questions. You got more papers here?
No, these were, those are mine. Just thought that you needed some.
Karen,
I,
Ron,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
so move, variance done. Any other questions, comments? Steve?
Nope.
No comments from the board members? Audience? Okay, I guess we're done. Make a motion to adjourn?
No, there's another one here on the bottom. I know this must have come later. I didn't have to either. But I saw that it's on our sheet here. Did you print yours out?
this was here.
Nothing on this one.
Okay, this is an old one. There we go. Right, I'm good. This
No.
must have come out of my file somewhere. Okay.
Try to make work for us?
You know, I love you guys so much. I miss it, so.
We need a motion, guys.
Need a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a
We need a
motion.
motion, team.
Second.
So, excuse me, I was hoping to address the board, but
Should we, so then we reopen for the discussion, Jenny?
So there was no vote on.
We didn't vote completely yet, no.
On what?
The gentleman wanted to have a discussion before we closed, yeah.
Oh, we already closed, but we can reopen it.
But we didn't vote on it according to Jay, so.
Oh,
I didn't hear about.
we did, but so make believe you didn't hear.
That's,
So come on up to address it.
is the meeting closed or not?
No,
No,
Then there was no.
no.
my name is Jay Giesler. I'm a professional engineer and my client is the Riviero family on Hall Hill Road. I've been trying to get on the agenda for this board I submitted everything well, almost everything I was told to do on March 9th, and I was summarily denied my application
By
Uh,
who?
by JL.
Uh-huh.
It's my. Can you please clarify where you're at in the process?
On, let's see, on February 17th, I came to the zoning board office in the back and had a meeting with JL and Ed Parato, and went through a list of things that would be required of me to get on the agenda. At which point I went back home and wrote that up for my client. And this was, like I said, February 17th. Which I backed out the 2 weeks before and figured, okay, March 9th, Saturday, March 9th, which used to have office hours, but I was here and lucky to get Ed Ferrato here working, so I turned in all my application. Notice of appeal, the variance form, ag data statement, environmental assessment form. Now, the one thing I didn't have was a letter of denial on the building permit, but the building permit's been in the office since November 11th, and that's 4 months now. And how long am I supposed to wait to get the denial? I also brought 7 copies of the drawing. And I was told that none of those things were right in an email. I got nothing right.
Did you get a list of what was wrong?
So Ed said that you didn't have ever corrected stuff?
This came from the zoning board clerk. I've begun the review of your various requests dated March 8th, 2024. Your application is incomplete because your building permit application is incomplete. Did not include your denial, which was presumptively on the basis of an incomplete application. But my narrative, that's definitely not the reason. Did not include the denial. No digital submission, which I admit I didn't. The required numbers of copies, I brought the 7 copies, and they had used the wrong form. The variance form to apply for is the one available to the public on the website. Also believe that you need a site plan review or abbreviated, again, unknown, since your application is incomplete. I will hold your check so you can work to remedy these errors. In the interim, I will place you on the planning board agenda for April 4th, which is out of turn because they can't do anything unless I'm either granted or denied the area variance that I'm trying to request. And I believe I should have been on the agenda tonight. Also noticing that some paperwork was late on some of these earlier variances that have gone in today. And my feet are being held to the fire, I think, in a way that's not uniform.
I just want to back up a bit. You have not received a denial.
Correct.
That's what, apparently, it sounds to me, that's what's holding everything up, that you haven't received a denial from Ed Ferrato, and it has to come from Ed
In
Ferrato.
February 17th, but during that meeting, I was told, okay, we'll have that done by the time you get your application in. Now, the building permit is 4 months old.
You started in November, is that what you said?
The stop work order was issued in September, at which point I was hired by the client. They came in and applied for a building permit as part of the process and paid $1,250 based on an unknown amount for the total project just to get started. That was accepted.
Already done that though? As you're saying that they had someone else in there before to do what you're doing?
No, the clients themselves came in, my clients, to
Okay.
fill in the building permit since it's their property.
All right.
I asked them to do that and they did on November 11th.
Okay, hey, can I just, as a board member, just interject here for a moment? Carol, you are absolutely correct, except in certain circumstances, people only come before the zoning board of appeals when they've been told no. So you are to something. And for us, that's either an area variance or a use variance. So you're absolutely right. You know, Mr. Geisler, I can understand your frustration, but there's nothing that this board can do tonight in terms of a hearing because we've got some very specific processes that we have to go through, and those start with the application being approved by JL and, sometimes with the support of Ed. So if there is something specific you have to ask of us, then please do. And we'll do whatever we can to expedite you getting on our at our next meeting.
Can you tell me, can you help me get this building permit approved or denied?
What's upset? Why, when normally Ed used to go to that denied, we went out of the problem. What's the problem with that?
The building permit application is incomplete, and Ed and myself have both reached out to the applicant's representative to rectify the incomplete application, and instead, as far as I can tell, the applicant reached out to the town board and an attorney, as well as is appearing tonight. I think it probably would have been beneficial to meet with Ed and correct the deficiencies in the building permit application.
So Jay, you asked me, Mr. Geiser, I'm referring to here. You asked me if there's anything we can do to help. And the only way for you to get on this agenda is to have JL be comfortable that you have a complete application. And if you would like to set up a meeting with JL and Ed, then I'm sure one or two of us would be more than happy to attend that meeting and make sure that we understand and you understand what the deficiencies are and can correct them so you can come before us as quickly as possible. Outside of that, this board has no authority or ability to to move this on. The legal process is clear, and it's got to go through jail.
I would like to reiterate that on February 17th, I met with Ed and JL and discussed at length what I needed to do. The building permit application was not declared incomplete at that time. I was just told that, okay, a letter of denial will be issued by the time you get yourself, all your documents in a row and get your stuff together.
Right. Well, since JL and Ed, it seems, have reached out to you, my suggestion is let's be as helpful as we can by setting up a meeting and sitting down at the table and figuring out exactly what it is that they don't feel is complete yet. And we can provide some support and clarity if you would like one or two of us to attend that meeting. Otherwise, what happened in the past, I understand your frustration. I appreciate it. I'm sorry for it. But you do have to respect the process, which starts with Jay feeling and approving that he's got a complete application. And as of today, for whatever reason, I don't know what the reasons are, she doesn't. So it seems like an easy fix to get together and just talk it through. And I apologize it adds a meeting to your agenda, but I am certainly willing to come and participate if you would like me to. And I'm sure that Fred or anyone else on the board, Carol, or whomever would be happy to attend also.
I would appreciate that very much. And if we could schedule that as soon as possible, that'd be great. However, now that there are no office hours on Saturdays, makes it a lot more difficult for me since I have a 9-to-5 job. So I'm hoping that we could have a extra office hours meeting.
When he came before the town board, Ed asked about having Saturdays, but he would be in by appointments.
Okay.
I
So,
think that's how that was set up.
He's gonna say something.
Yeah, he did say that. I was at that meeting. I think that's how it's set up.
okay.
Do you have any idea what you're missing?
The electronic submission and the letter of denial. far as the building application, the permit application being complete or incomplete, it was accepted, the money was taken, and it was given to me, not by my clients, but by Ed saying, here's the application, and we'll need to deny this. I mean, I thought things were marching along, and turns out it wasn't.
So Jay, the thing that's missing holding up the letter is
So
the electronic submission.
I will clarify a couple of things that were said. The legal process to appear before the ZBA would require a denial. No denial was issued. Ed has reached out to the applicant. I have also reached out to the applicant, asking the applicant to correct deficiency with the building permit application. Any meetings with the applicant, like meetings with the applicant were ongoing. And we were going through and correcting different submissions.
So what I'm asking you is, well, are we missing one thing that's holding us up, or is it a whole mess of stuff?
There's multiple things that are missing and deficient from the person.
Namely,
We're not going to be able to solve this tonight, and with this back and forth. I think it's really best that we have a face-to-face meeting with JL and Ed, and I'm happy to attend, and maybe another member of the board would be willing to attend with me, and we'll do whatever we can to be helpful and expedite this matter.
thank you. That is why I came tonight.
Well, I
Okay.
agree. So let's get this done, because it's not fair that you should be waiting this long. So let's get this figured out.
Without Ed being here, can't necessarily set an appointment and speak for his time, but I'd like to shoot for this Saturday if we could.
So. I mean, we'll have to figure it out, but I mean, we gotta get it resolved.
That is, Ed is only in on Mondays and Fridays. I don't know how you make an appointment with him. Other than calling jail, is
He's
that?
not here Wednesdays anymore?
Ed is in on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Sorry,
Oh,
you're in on Mondays and Fridays, so he's in tomorrow. So make the phone call tomorrow.
Sure.
Jail, I don't know if you would be free this Saturday, because it's a whole Saturday, I don't know. But, okay, so that's your phone call for tomorrow.
Right.
Yeah.
And
My experience with JL and Ed have been that they've been very flexible when there's a special need like this. So I think you'll find them to be very supportive, and once that happens, I'm sure JL will communicate back to us, and we'll figure out what we can do to have some participation with you. I think this Saturday is going to be a little challenging because of the Easter weekend. And for some of us, I've got some commitments at church that make it difficult for me, but
right, that it didn't occur to me that this was a holiday weekend. So,
Well, either way, we've got a month before you get back in here anyway. So
correct. Yeah.
we should be able to resolve it within a month.
Why don't you come by the office tomorrow? Between 10 and 2.
Because I work in Poughkeepsie 95. So I'll call Ed and see if, and then I'll call you and see if we can figure out a time on a Saturday that works for everybody.
We got a whole month before you'll be on the agenda, so we should be able to get it resolved by then.
Now, I know you said you reached out, and that might be my fault, and that I had an email meltdown. Through no fault of my own, I lost my Fairpoint address. So I don't know if those are getting bounced back to you or not, but that's not available to me anymore. And so I'll start this off tomorrow with the proper address so that we can bounce things off each other properly.
You can also email Ed.
Yeah.
The updated or complete building permit application.
what we'll need to find out exactly what's missing, because I didn't turn it in and it was not declared as incomplete to me when we met on the 17th.
All right, let's get it set up with that, and we'll get it sorted out.
Yep.
Hopefully next month we'll see a smiling face.
Yeah, easy. Well, the variance is what it is. I'm not sure if we'll get it or not, but I'd like to be able to air it.
It's pretty inconvenient, so we'll get it figured out.
Thank you for your time.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Geiser.
Thank you.
I said it.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hey, Steve, have a good night.
All right, good night, everybody. Cheers.
Yeah.